Welcome, guys. We got to shift gears here. That 24-hour period is long expired from last week. Coming into this week, so we've been grinding on looking at our next opponent, a team that is 7-1 and very well can be ranked. Probably should be ranked in what they've done. Coach Shepard's done a really good job. While he's been at Fresno State and stops prior to Fresno State. And it's no different this year. They got an offense that has been very productive, scored a lot of points, very efficient in the pass game, and a defense that has created a lot of negative yardage plays, and has actually gotten a lot of takeaways as well. And that being said, they are one of the top teams in the nation in the turnover margin. So there's plenty of things that we're studying, personnel we're looking at, structures that we're looking at, in all three phases of the game. But it was good for us to have our most complete game and be able to learn from it and still have plenty of room to grow, as we move forward into this next week. Much like we did over the bye week, we took the same approach after our last game, and really be able to hit pause and look at the things. I think it's vitally important that we're able to hit pause after each and every game and really focus on ourselves and give ourselves a little bit of a window there where we can address the things that we did well and figure out how we're going to continue to do those well. Pour some gas on that fire, and then figure out the things that we need to continue to improve on as we move forward into the next week. And a lot of times, as we've talked about from week to week, the challenges look different. You face different offensive structures, you face different defensive structures. Of course, the personnel is quite different. And so those are the things as we work through the beginning of this week for our next conference game that we've been focusing on.
Questions?
Andy, the defense, obviously, as you said, played its most complete game. What did you see out of this defense on Saturday that you hadn't seen all season?
Definitely our ability to play with better eye control, which led to us playing faster in our initial fits, and then the way we pursued to the ball. I believe that we played with good fundamentals and techniques at the line of scrimmage, which most of the time got us ahead of the chains, and we were able to get some pressure on the quarterback, and that always helps a tremendous amount. But ultimately, too, one of the biggest things is just simply tackling. Whether it be in run plays or certain pass plays, being able to eliminate the yards after contact by being efficient tacklers, which eventually, those yards start to stack up. And so, while we did a good job with that stuff, there's still room to grow, and it will call for us to grow as we go down the stretch here with each one of these opponents that, we'll play.
Wyoming's had a lot of success running the ball, and they didn't have any on Saturday. What were the key factors there after you've seen the film and whatnot as well? Why were you guys so good against the run?
Well, the coaches did a good job putting a plan together, and the players executed. Ultimately, there's one thing about this game: it's working as a team. It's spending the time handling the process. Really felt like, as a whole, the defense, not only through the bye week, but also through the week of prep for Wyoming. We stacked 2 good weeks there of prep in terms of guys. Talking about the competitive maturity and how, that's not just when we get on the field, but that's the process of which it takes to be efficient, to be consistent on the field. And as we've talked about, we're not young anymore. We got some young personnel on defense, but we're not young anymore. We played a lot of football. Now it's the time to apply that, continue to grow forward. Again, this week presents a whole, presents a lot more challenges. The offense is quite different that we're going to face this week, and so there's certain things that we did in the game last week that we must do better this week. But ultimately, in the run game, the guys did a really good job playing with fundamentals and techniques, and being consistent with the fits. The more consistent you are at the line of scrimmage, then the second level can fit. We had some players that played with, great eye control, were able to see their keys and make some negative yardage plays or some plays at the line of scrimmage, which put us ahead of the chains.
Almost every week, Mad Dog's come off the sideline and converted a big play, whether it's a third down, whether it's a fourth down. What does that say about his mentality?
Yeah, that's this the 2-quarterback system which we've been operating out of. As we've gone through, it's been awesome to be able to see both these guys play and be productive and score, move the ball down the field. It really comes down to us being more efficient, which in the passing game we've been more efficient. Since we've been doing it on third downs, we've been more efficient. Like we've talked about, we've had more offensive production. We've scored more points. So, it's something that we can continue to build off of because our guys, in particular the two quarterbacks and their mentality and their preparation and how they go about it. And again, it's the want to, it's the willingness to do whatever it is that we can do to start a role to help the team win.
You look at Maddox, I mean, he's one of the unlimited snaps, sure, but he's one of the highest rated passers in the Mountain West Conference when it comes to his quarterback efficiency range. What is it about him that he's put himself in the position that he is currently in, where he's probably earned the playing majority of the reps in this last game? So, yeah. How has he put himself in this position?
Well, I think a lot of it too comes down to the stuff behind the scenes that people don't see, just in terms of his preparation. He obviously has a high football IQ, right? He has a great feel for the game when he's on the field in terms of his ability to lead in the pre-snap. That comes with preparation and having the confidence. And then obviously once that ball snapped, to be able to work through a progression, to having the understanding of how to stay on time with his feet within the pockets and the pre-snap reads from the certain coverages that he gets. And so we've got to continue to build off that. I mean, the team we're playing this week, is taking the ball away a lot. And they got one corner with 4 interceptions, and so it's going to present a lot of challenges this week. They've gotten a lot of sacks, so I believe one part of that too is how we've been able to protect the quarterback, and we're going to have a great challenge with that this week, being that they've got a lot of guys on this Fresno defense that have got TFLs or sacks.
How tough is Maddox too, in terms of his running ability? One of the more impressive plays of the game, right before he hits that touchdown to Prince, he takes off, and I mean, he took a pretty good lick, and then he comes back in, hangs in the pocket, and gets the ball up over some guys who are like jumping, and puts it in. There's only spot that Prince can go get that thing.
Yeah.
So in terms of his running ability and toughness, how does he?
Well, that's the thing too. I mean, even our rushing yards altogether as a team have been up since we've been using both guys. But like we said all along, like Mad Dog's capable of running the ball too. Just like TG. Okay, don't forget about that explosive pass play TG hit early on in the game as well. But it's pretty impressive to see Mad Dog run behind his pads as you were talking about. And then it's football, right? You're gonna run the ball. We got to take care of the ball, and we got to take care of ourselves. We'd like to see those guys, take care of their bodies a little bit, in particular the quarterbacks a little. But it's part of the game. You know what? And it's exciting to see when you have quarterbacks that can run the ball and can put the ball down the field. That is very exciting to see. It is very tough on a defense, and so to be able to put the series together where he did run the ball, got us some yards, and then was able to finish that drive off with a touchdown pass was pretty impressive. Again, it's an awesome opportunity to have both of these guys where you can put TG in the game, and we're in a critical situation, and TG pulls the ball and keeps it and gets around the edge, and with his speed, there was no one could catch him. There we are, we scored another touchdown. So how we continue to create the rhythm is going to be the biggest part. How we're efficient, on third downs is going to be the biggest part, because that obviously allows us to get another set of downs and keep drives moving. And we had just before the half in the last game, it was a 13-play drive or something like that, where we were able to score, going into halftime, be able to have the defense go out and play 2-minute, end of half and be successful, and then come out after the half and score again. I mean, those are the pieces that we want to continue to build on. How we move through a game, how we get to the game plan, get to the calls we have, ready to go. That's something that we want to continue to build on. Now, again, as we talk about all the time, we can't expect it to look exactly the same from week to week, because we're playing different defenses. And having two quarterbacks allows us to do what's necessary.
Using the two
Go ahead.
Using the two quarterbacks, your vision is becoming a little bit clearer with every game, and we can kind of watch and see what you're doing with Maddox obviously dominating the second half. In all seriousness, this question though, why is Taylor starting?
Because he's earned the right to start, and again, we saw what we did on the first drive too. Correct. Now we got to take care of the ball. That's the bottom line too. Okay, and it's not. We got to take care of the ball. We've got a huge emphasis on that, and we came out, scored on our very first drive on an explosive pass play, and was able to execute a 2-point conversion. So, you know, there's things that we're able to do really well, and when we're able to see what a particular game plan is, and you know, for Bush to have the ability to use 2 quarterbacks, you know, how we see fit has obviously been productive. Our numbers have gone up in, you know, almost every category.
The turnovers, you know, you're -6 for the season. Just how do you look at that in these big games down the stretch here? I mean, winning the turnover margin usually means winning the game. That's been, you know, what do you see in there? I guess how big is that to get that figured out on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, we just spoke about it. You know, taking care of the ball. You take care of the ball. The guys that are explosive with the ball and take care of the ball are going to have the ball in their hands. You know, we're not going to be perfect, but there needs to be a high level of consistency of how we're carrying the ball and how we're taking care of it. And then, you know, there's certain things on defense that it really comes down to playing with great eye control, being in the right position, playing with great effort. A lot of times simply tackling well creates takeaways. Playing with great leverage and great technique and coverage, and obviously using your eyes to put you in a position will allow for us to get more takeaways as well. Creating pressure on the quarterback. In the last game, we created pressure on the quarterback, and we were able to get a takeaway.
When I think about some of the best players in program history, you know, it's not the 5-star recruits. It's guys like Avery Williams who walked on, or Kellen Moore who's a 2-star recruit. When you look at Maddox, you know, he didn't have a ton of offers. Obviously, he's not the biggest guy, but in some ways, is he the kind of player that this program is built on?
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of guys like that have come through here. I mean, Alex Tubner's another guy that's walked on and is starting. T. Crow is another guy that has walked on and does a whole lot for this team in a lot of different ways, whether it be on offense or special teams. And you know, again, Mad Dog's a guy that has been able to really grow and thrive here. As we said all along, if guys deserve a role, we're going to find a role for them. In whatever phase it is of the game, whether it's offense, defense, or special team, we're going to find a role for them. It's a long season, and as many people that we can use and put them in position to help us win, we're going to.
You've seen a lot of quarterback for Fresno State. What are his best attributes, and why has he been able to do what he's been able to do?
Very efficient and quick with his decision making. The scheme calls for, you know, in a lot of cases for him to be able to get the ball out of his hands very quickly. He's very good about making decisions, being able to identify and see things in the pre-snap, and be quick with his feet and his release. And then, you know, they've got the vertical pass game to go along with it as well, whether it's, you know, off run looks or a drop back pass game. And they've done a really good job, you know, with the new quarterback, and you know, and really a wide receiver core that has been extremely productive. I mean, they got 2 wide receivers that they both lead the team with 41 receptions, so that's a lot of production there.
You've seen a lot of good quarterbacks, you know, some of the best in the nation. How does he stack up against them?
He has some of the best numbers. I mean, he's up there with touchdowns thrown this season. His completion percentage, facing a guy that has 68% completion percentage, stacks up pretty high. They've played some good teams, some good defenses this year, so we have. That's been a huge part of the challenge this year is we've seen some good quarterbacks. We've seen some wide receiver cores and some tight ends that have been shown to be very productive over the course of the year, even after we've played.
With Fresno State, obviously you played them in the championship game a couple of times, a lot of big games there, here. I mean, what is it just about 2 quality teams, and a lot's usually on the line when you play these guys?
Year in and year out, that's what it is. I mean, we, you know, it's been going on for a long time. Both programs have had a lot of success. As we said before, Coach Shepard's done an unbelievable job, and so in this conference, you know, there's usually a lot on the line when these 2 teams play each other. Whether it's, you know, and it's really there's been cases where we played each other twice, you know, for obvious reasons in a given year. And shooting one particular year, it was back-to-back games.
Offensive line, 7 guys, they all appear to be healthy. That's obviously a luxury, but it's also, you got a lot of decisions to make within that and how you juggle those 7 guys. So how difficult is it to find playing time for offensive linemen if you got 7 healthy guys?
and it's not that difficult. It's a lot better than not having 7, right? We've been in that situation where we've been 8, 9 deep into our offensive line. It's again, we won't make the negatives or difficulties out of the things that are positives. We'll stay out of that space, and again, we'll find roles for guys to be able to have, even if they're not playing O-line.
You look at, you get to score at least 30 points now in 6 straight games. You're averaging 30 on the season, which is the most since 20. You're at 427 yards a game, your most since 19. Obviously, you made a decision last year, and you wanted to find somebody that mixed and meshed with what you wanted to do. How happy are you with what you are doing right now on offense, even if it might not look, super technical at one position at times, I guess?
Yeah, there's no question, and that's the thing about it that we've decided on, holistically here as a family, is that it doesn't matter what other people want it to look like. It matters what our personnel can do very well, and we've got to find ways to continue to do that and grow it. But as we've seen, you adapt and you grow throughout the course of the season. Teams that will have a chance to play for a championship are going to adapt and grow throughout the course of the year. They're going to find ways to develop personnel and use personnel differently as you go through the year. But it's been awesome to see here, especially how we've been able, to generate a lot of production on offense. And to be quite honest, we take care of the ball, and we're going to be in really good shape. For all the things that are said or not said, like Bush has done a good job, plain and simple. We have young players that are stepping up. We have old players that are stepping up. We've played with 8, 9, deep into offensive linemen. We have them all back now. That's not a problem. That's a benefit. We have George back now. That's a benefit. Not just from George's production, but him as a leader, and to be able to see and do the things we did last week when we have, the majority of our offensive personnel back, and to be able to play the way we did against that type of defense last week. We've got to be able to build off of that, because the defense we're playing this week is shown to be just as strong, and even some cases, production-wise and stats-wise, is better.
A lot of former players have told me that games at Fresno State create some of the most hostile environments they've ever been in. Why is that?
It's been that way for a long time. It's one of the places you go when you go on the road. You know what it is. Typically, there's going to be a lot of people. The stadium's going to be full, and I think it's a unique setting in a sense too. Where the locker room is, and the way you've got to enter the stadium. Again, it's like we always talk about, though. I mean, it's never about the external. It's always about the internal and how we handle our process and all those things. But it does make for year in and year out when we do play, and you go on the road to play this game. There's a challenge out in front of you.
Team-wise, what makes Fresno this year different from last year?
You know what? The difference, obviously, there's a different OC, but Pat was there last year, so there are some similarities. There are some differences within, some of the things that they are doing in the pass game, and there are some things, slight differences in the run game as well. But they're getting a lot of production like they did last year.
Seems like Breezy's a guy who kind of epitomizes the next man up mentality for you guys.
Sure.
I mean, he comes in when when George goes down, then George comes back, and Ashton gets injured.
It's awesome to see him get that touchdown.
What's he? How's he really improved and matured as a college football player throughout the season?
Yeah, I mean, we've gone from early on in the year when George went down, and to be honest with you, almost everybody in that room went down. And Breezy, got put in there. It's a lot. On a freshman running back, you may not think it's that much, but if we sat the average person, more than the average person, down in a room and took them through protections of blitz packages and stuff like that, they'd be completely lost and have no idea. I'm just being honest. And so when a freshman comes to this level, or even obviously that demand gets higher when you get to the next level, to the NFL, that's a big part of it that people don't think about, because your number one job as a running back, outside of carrying the ball, is to protect the quarterback. And and there's a lot to be learned there. So it's been awesome to see how he's progressed and grown. We got to keep growing him. It was good to see him get his opportunity and score a touchdown last week. To see that big old smile on his face, just like a lot of our other younger players, we've got to continue to find ways to help these young men grow and thrive as we go down the stretch here.
What
How
does
does
that
that
do
quick
for?
learning kind of help kind of integrate him into the locker room and kind of, I don't want to say gain the respect because I'm sure he already had it, but even kind of increase it, I guess.
Yeah, the younger players in this program that gain the respect are going to do it by being mature individuals, by handling themselves right in and around the facility, and by being ready to go when we get on the practice field. That's what's going to gain the respect from the older guys. And usually what happens with that is they're able to have an impact on the field. They're able to start within a role that they have and then grow that role. And the veterans here, the older guys here, has been this way for a long time. We're going to help these guys. It's not just the coaches. You got guys like George that are helping Breezy. His other running backs that were older when he got here once helped him, and so that is something that has been a part of this place for a long time. It's not just at that position; it's at all positions.
For a guy like Breezy, a guy like Prince, that are trying to fight for earning playing time, when they get that first touchdown, like what does that do to kind of show them that their work's paying off and like really help kind of, or a guy getting his first pick on defense? I mean, it would seem like the big play like that would really motivate those guys.
Yeah, I mean that's to be able to pour in the commitment it takes, the sacrifice it takes, the consistency within the hard work that it takes to be able to do something like that, to be rewarded with, a play that, as you're talking about, may help the light come on, and really not so just for that moment, but in terms of the understanding of what it takes to be able to create more of those plays, the preparation, the process that goes into it. Again, we've seen more than a few guys this year that maybe weren't here last year or didn't play a lot last year, where that light's starting to come on, and it's pretty cool to see. And this week, starting with tomorrow's practice, we're going to have some fun tomorrow. We're going to compete. It's going to be very, very competitive on the field tomorrow. We're going to bring a lot of energy as a team, as a coaching staff, as players. And go out there and relish the opportunity we get to prep for this next opportunity.
Along those lines, Danny, with the light coming on, you played, I believe, 25 players on defense last weekend. 24 have eligibility to return next year. All 18 guys that made a tackle have eligibility to return next year. What's it like? Have you ever been in a room that is so young, and then after seeing them, their hard work pay off and paying attention to small things, what's it like to come back on a Sunday, Monday, see the light come on and try to replicate it with them?
Yeah, it's not easy, right? It's not easy. And we say replicate. It's every single week. Yeah, they're the schemes that we're working to implement and put together may be very similar, but every week is a new week. And when especially as a defense, right? Because you're reacting in a lot of situations to who you're playing. And every week is a new week that you got to bring to life. And what does that involve? What does that entail? How does a young player learn how to do that? When they learn how to do it, they do it, and then they have some success on the field. There's nothing better than that. Because ultimately the result of that is I want to do it again and I want to do it better. So that's what the opportunity we have in terms of our prep today, how we watch film, how the players watch film on their own today, how they're going to do that, how they're going to study, how they're going to prepare, how they're going to show up here tomorrow morning. Some of the coaches were talking to them about yesterday, showing up and being out in front of your coach tomorrow morning. How about that? How about we do that and have fun and show up to meetings with questions and bigger picture questions that we can get to, because there's only so much time you get within these meetings, and to be able to cover things at the pace we need to, it requires the players really to do a good job prepping.
George Jelani, in terms of what he represents to this program, and I guess more specifically, how did he come through Saturday night? Because you're obviously going to need him in November, and if you ever look at his stat numbers in November, he's a beast in November. So taking it to another level during crunch time, just talk about George and his representation of this team.
Yeah, even beyond just being on the field, as we talked about, whether it's with the young players that are in the running back room, or young players in general. You know, we said it the last couple of weeks as George started to work his way back in. George has been a huge part of working behind the scenes with the younger guys in the program, the development squad, and being a part of some of those lifts and things like that. The production that George is capable of having on the field, he's been here for a while. Everyone knows what that looks like as we continue 1 week at a time to go along. It's awesome to be able to have, you know, 2 tailbacks like that, 3 as we, you know, obviously continue to develop Breezy and T. Crow, who always shows up, you know, in certain situations when it's needed. And so I think that the way that room is growing, the overall production of that room, you know, is not only on the coaches, but a guy like George too, who's a huge leader.
It seems like, well, you guys have long talked about doing your 111, but Andrew Simpson is certainly starting to stand out amongst the 111. What has he been able to do these last few games that he's really becoming a playmaker for you guys?
Yeah, he did a nice job in the run game last week. You know, and it's really the things that he had his best week of practice last week. We'll say that right out the gates, because that's what it always starts with. I know it sounds cliche, but sayings are what they are for a reason, right? Like, you practice well, chances are you're probably going to play really well. And he did a really good job with his run fits, much better job being disciplined with his keys and his reads, and which allowed him to be able to trigger and hit the line of scrimmage faster in a couple situations where we saw tackles at the line of scrimmage or in the backfield. And then, you know, he was able to be productive in terms of generating pressure on the quarterback as well.
How fun are these trophy games to play? And I mean, obviously having something tangible that you can take back with you home to Boise that you're playing for.
Well, I mean, tradition and rivalry that's what makes college football fun. So I know that is a big part of it, but I don't know that we'll talk about that one time this week.
With what do you think the game Spence called on Saturday? And,
Yeah.
I mean, you guys got only for the first time in one game all 4 quarters. You guys are in a very good rhythm on defense.
Yeah, no question. And so, like we said, very proud of the way the coaches came. And it wasn't just on Saturday, right? It's what Coach D and the rest of the defensive staff has been doing the last couple weeks, which obviously very proud of those guys and bringing it together so that the players can truly understand and grow and be better. And so, as we've spoken about already, the cool part about that is we got a lot of football left to play, and we've got the opportunity to continue to grow and get better. But it obviously was visible in the hard work that Coach D has put in with the defensive staff and the game he called on Saturday and the positions he put the defense in.
I think after the game, George mentioned somebody talked to the team last week, and I can't remember the acronym that he brought up, but it was something about maybe not letting one bad play influence another bad play or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it rings a bell or who was it, or maybe that message stood out to you too.
Yeah, we were fortunate. There was a retired Marine lieutenant here in the Treasure Valley, Lieutenant Cleve. He was here visiting a particular church and some friends of the program. We were fortunate enough to have him come speak to our program. And he is a man that endured a lot during Vietnam and was able to survive some pretty bad things that happened, and he delivered a really good message to the team. He's a man also that was involved in football and decided to leave football to go into the military, during Vietnam, and so he had a football background, still does, loves the game, but really spoke on a message that was endearing to everybody, about times you got to be able to forget it and drive on, and that's no different than the next play mentality. And to be honest with you, it's from one week to the next too. Like we said, it's a 24-hour rule, and it's time to get back on it and get going and bring this week to life one day at a time, compete, attack each one of the days. And the reality of it is too, one thing that he talked about is just being our personal best each and every day and being grateful for the opportunities we have.
Anything else?
You doing Halloween tomorrow night? What's your costume? And the girls?
I did Halloween last night, and my costume was T. Crow. And No, we did Halloween with all our families here in our team, our family all together last night on our Sunday night dinner. And so it was awesome. We appreciate all the wives and all the kids putting candies and treats together for our team, and being able to sit down and break bread last night on our Sunday night meal. And, it was cool to see all the kids dressed up, and a few of the players as well.
Who had the best costume?
Who had the best costume? There was a lot of good costumes. I don't know. You guys will have to ask the players that this week when you get a chance to talk to them. I'll leave it at that.
Do you have a pair of shorts, or did you have to borrow something from Crow?
Say it again.
Did you have a pair of jean shorts, or did you have to borrow those from Crow?
I didn't necessarily have a pair of jeans that I could chop up at the moment yesterday, but I manufactured some. But you know I came with some short shorts.
And a mullet